Okay, now communications management. Communications management is when we're starting to look at the key stakeholders. I never ask anyone anymore what's a stakeholder, because I had one person say to me one day from Asia, they said to me, chef. And I'm standing there going, chef. They didn't understand what I asked them. I said, no, stakeholder. And then I realised what they were saying. A steak? No. Stakeholder, chef? No. A stakeholder is a person that's involved or impacted by the project. A key stakeholder is the person or people or even organisation that can influence the project. And we are trying to identify who the key stakeholders are as soon as possible, because they're the ones that can give us a headache. Would you agree? So there must be some techniques we can do, because if you look at what I'm doing, I go into a different organisation every couple of days. I have to know who's who in the zoo, as I put it, who's who in the zoo as fast as possible. That's identifying who the key stakeholders are. There's a tool which we're going to go into in great detail called a communications management plan. That's where we identify who the key stakeholders are, but we also then go and say, what information do they need, when do they need it, in what format do they need it, and who's going to be providing it. So we'll be looking at that whole process, because remember, projects are all about people. And who knows better what information they want? Me as the project manager or the key stakeholder themselves? The key stakeholder. So why is it that we try and dictate to them what they're going to get? See, I hate standing in front of a photocopier. Who hates that? Who's out of flow standing there waiting for the photocopy to happen? Yeah, a few of us? I hate doing that. But if I go to a key stakeholder and they say, no, I want a hard copy, I might try the other angle, we don't really want to kill any trees. We're more of an environmental type organisation here. But if they go, no, I want a hard copy, guess what? The photocopier becomes my friend. Because I know if they're a key stakeholder, can't they hurt the project somehow? So I'll be then motivated to stand behind a photocopier. Do you get that message? Because we've got to actually make sure we're communicating effectively on what information they want, what level of detail they need. But we'll be looking at how to manage that process in quite detail when we look at comms management. But really, communications management is actually identifying who the key stakeholders are, what information they need, in what format, and how often or when. Yes.
So you identify their behavioural style with taking in information, for example, so that you're choosing how you're going to deliver to that stakeholder.
Everyone has a communication style. They have a behaviour style, which tells us really how much information they want. Yep. And their communication style, you might have heard of visual, auditory and kinesthetics, or feeling people. So their communication style also states what style of communications they want. So you've got one telling us more of how much and what level of detail, and one telling us in what type of format. Now imagine this. If I'm catching up with you and I'm able to analyse those things about you, and then I ask you the right questions to lead you to what I know you really want based on those things, do you think our communications are going to be better? But if I don't know those things, the only way I get to know is to ask you, what do you want, when do you want it, etc. And if I wasn't even training those things, you would tell me what you want. I've just got to live up to that. But that process is actually buy-in. When I get your buy-in, then I've just got to live up to it. But if you develop yourself in the behavioural side, and that's where People Rich spends all their time, that's what we teach, that's where we live, learn. Why? Because if it's all about people, do you reckon we can up the ante? If we can walk in, work out what your behaviour style is, work out what your communication style is, we effectively know exactly what you want, sometimes better than you realise yourself. And that's where you really start improving the skills. Yeah. And it comes with experiences, doesn't it? Like if you go to do a council, I'll go in your profession with property development. If you know what information the council wants to get the deal approved, and you've written it in a certain way that you know works, and you come and present that same way, you've got a higher chance of getting it done. But if you've never done it before, and even though you know what boxes you're supposed to fill in, you don't know how to fill it in enough for them to say, we've got all the information, got it in the right format, cool, approved. Because what are we trying to do? Speed things up. Always make sure things are moving forward. So we don't want any disapprovals, do we? And that's where we up the ante on the comms side of things.